Before we do that, we go through the usual quick housekeeping items here. You can see my book on Amazon here. Please go take a look at it. Our YouTube channel is still up and running. Please have a look, spread the word. Same goes for our Rumble channel and our Brighteon channel. So please give us a like, a follow, and spread the word if you may. Now, as we're looking forward to the collapse of the dollar as a reserve world currency, it's important to gather some perspective and realize where we are positioned in terms of history and timeline. The media always tells us to focus on the now and the next shiny object, so to speak. As I'm writing this and talking to you now, the BRICS nations are developing a new currency to compete against the US dollar hegemony, led mainly by Russia and China. When you read this and hear this, things will already have changed drastically. And I have no way at this time to foresee what will happen and the timeline of such events. I can just say that I am aware and I am closely monitoring the situation because I am a nerd after all. Also, it is my contention that such information is essential to make individual economic decisions for the future. A big picture view of sorts. Now, the US dollars has been the world reserve currency since around 1921, they say, about 103 years. But what was the world currency before the dollar, and how long did it last? It was the British pound, supposedly from 1815 until 1920, is what is generally recognized, around about 105 years. Before that, it was France and its livre, 1720 to 1815, that's 95 years. Before that, it was the Netherlands, the Dutch guilder or florin, from 1640 to 1720, about 80 years. Before that, it was Spain with its real, from 1530 to 1640, 110 years. Before that, it was Portugal's real, from 1450 to 1530, about 80 years. All of these currencies are more or less the same age. Most of these currencies disappeared due to overprinting and overexpansion. Classic mistake we never seem to learn from. The US dollar obviously suffered an astonishing overexpansion of the currency since COVID. Some 70% of its own currency was printed during this time. Absolutely unheard of. What my banker friends tell me is easily disproven by what I just told you. The Spanish real was the most long-lived, followed by the British pound, and the US dollar is a close third. The people at the time who held this status at the time did not know their currencies would collapse. So why would the Americans? History itself tells us the US dollar is overdue already. All these collapses were relatively sudden and took them all by surprise at the time. The people on the ground lost everything, but still thought that the paper money they were holding was worth something when it suddenly was not. What then? This is caused by the other nations suddenly refusing their currency. Because why would they? They're not running a charity, right? This is business. So what is going to be the catalyst this time around? What is really interesting, and this is the crux of the story, was the consequential decline in naval power. Thus the picture you see on your screen right here. What was it that made all these countries so powerful in the day? Well, it was naval dominance, ocean exploration, and colonization by sea. This dominance in seafaring trade made it necessary for the counterparts to hold the dominating country's currency in order to do business with them. This is how a currency is maintained in time historically. Since World War II, the United States has been the dominant naval power in this realm. We know this, and so do they. They have engaged in all kinds of security operations with their air carrier groups and has been a serious force to contend with. Not so much involved in trading anymore as just military brute force. They have thus managed to dictate who is allowed to travel, who to sanction, and who is allowed to use the reserve currency, the US dollar, bringing so-called democracy to the free world, as they call it. Not to mention the blowing up of the North Stream pipeline in the North Sea that crippled Germany's economy, Europe's financial engine. Yes, the evidence is all there. Just turn off the TV and you will find it. The US, by its own arrogance and hubris, not to mention bad policy and questionable political policies, managed to deteriorate its navy to the point that it cannot project power on the territory anymore. Other countries are taking over. China and Russia, especially Russia, has proven to be exceptional adversaries that the US is simply not ready to engage. Policies as diversity and DEI hires in military has not helped either. The US military is so woke by now that it's an international embarrassment, and the Russians are very aware of this fact. As of this writing, and me speaking to you today, the Yemeni military, with sandals and camels, has so far managed to close the Red Sea and the Suez Canal, and the US can't do anything about it. Now, the situation in the Middle East is heating up by the day. Once you hear this, it will have changed already. I'm trying to make a point here, which is the following. If history is anything to go after, this is the demise of the US dollar. On top of everything I've described in the previous chapter, this is the result on the ground, and it's a truly historic event. The dollar has expired its time and is working on borrowed time. We cannot know when this collapse will occur exactly, but we know for a fact that it's mathematically unavoidable at this point. Military dominance, as occurred in Iraq, is now a thing of the past. Saddam Hussein wanted out of the US dollar, and Libya, Gaddafi, he wanted the same thing, and what a disgrace that was. The empire is slowly collapsing before our eyes, and the smart money knows it very well. And now it's just a question of time. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So this is all for me, this short chapter. I'll see you on the next one. 2.5, the 300 trillion mystery. That'll be a doozy. Max out and peace.